Hello again, and welcome to Week 4, Lesson 1. In the last lesson, we discussed the power of positive emotions and various methods for cultivating positive emotions. One of these methods was cultivating healthy relationships and connecting with people in a meaningful way. This lesson will dive deeper into this process. Today, we will discuss social resilience, meaning our communication style and relationships. There are a variety of definitions of social resilience, but for the purpose of this class, when I say social resilience, I mean relationships with other people. Whether you are overwhelmed by your own stress or the suffering of others, the way to find hope is to connect, not to escape. These quotes are from an article, How to Transform Stress into Courage and Connection, which is one of the reading assignments for this lesson. In the article, Kelly McGonigal discusses the end and befriend model and its benefits. In that article, the second to last paragraph states the tend to befriend theory doesn't say that stress always leads to caring, but stress can indeed make us angry and defensive. This theory simply states that stress can and often does make people more caring. And when we care for others, it changes our biochemistry, activating systems of the brain that produce feelings of hope and courage. This means connecting with others is an important aspect of building resilience. In order to connect with others, we need to communicate with them. This lesson will review various types of communication styles. There are many models of communication styles, and you can feel free to look up alternative types of communication styles if the 5 that I discuss here today do not resonate with you. The 5 communication styles I will discuss today are assertive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, submissive, and manipulative. Communication helps us bridge the gap between thinking and doing. That is why it is important to identify your own communication style so that you can adapt your style to build relationships with others. The first style I will communicate with you is the assertive communicator. And it's the easiest to communicate with because these people are able to express themselves in an effective way without hurting other people's feelings. The receiver can trust them. You always know where they stand, and they earn respect. They maintain good eye contact and are socially gifted. The second style is aggressive. Aggressive communicators are demanding, and they only agree with someone who agrees with their opinion. They believe they are always right, and the only opinion that matters is theirs. The person on the receiving end of the communication feels hurt, humiliated, afraid, or resentful. This is the hardest to communicate with because they will never see someone else's side. Third is the passive-aggressive communicator. This person may appear to be passive, but underneath they are hiding their aggressiveness with sarcasm, complaining, and deviousness. They are not trustworthy and usually two-faced. The person communicating with them will often feel confused, angry, hurt, or resentful. Fourth is submissive communicators. They are very quiet and tend to agree with everyone. They will feel like a victim, are easy to get along with, and avoid conflict. They are often soft-spoken, and the person talking to them often feels frustrated, guilty, and can discount them because they do not know what they want. Fifth, the last form of communicator is the manipulative communicator. These people are cunning, controlling of others in a devious way, and they can make people feel obligated to them. They can make the person they are talking to feel guilty, frustrated, angry, and they usually do not know where they stand with a manipulator. Each style has its own challenges when talking with them. If you understand the style of communicator you're talking to, you will have a better chance of being able to get your point across. Once you read the article, The 5 Communication Styles, you will have a better understanding of each of the styles and will be able to identify which style you may use most often. One of the assignments this week will ask you to reflect on your communication style once you have a good understanding. A good understanding of the 5 basic communications will help you learn how to react most effectively when confronted with a difficult situation. It will also help you recognize when you're not being assertive or not behaving in the most effective way. Remember, you always have a choice as to which communication style you use. Being assertive usually is the most effective, but other styles can be necessary in certain situations, such as being submissive when under a physical threat. The next few slides, we will review how to get your point across effectively and tips for tough conversations. These suggestions were developed through the Community Door Workbook, Understanding Your Communication Style. To find a list of resources from this lecture, you can check out the class bibliography. Now back to communication and getting your point across effectively. How do you think this applies to resilience? Well, with good communication skills, you can share your knowledge and feel more confident in making decisions. It also helps develop productive and respectful relationships, which we know are an important aspect of resilience. It also helps us to be more comfortable in talking about important information and shared concerns, and achieve positive outcomes, which helps decrease negative experiences, confusion, and stress. How do we get our point across effectively? Words often play only a small part in the messages we communicate. Other factors, such as the way we present the words we use, our tone of our voice, and our body language, posture, gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, and personal presentation, all play a significant role in how we communicate. There are a number of useful strategies we can use to communicate clearly and effectively that help us develop productive and respectful relationships, be influential, and achieve positive outcomes. While being assertive in communication was discussed previously, this section will briefly explore this and a few other strategies. Being assertive is expressing our views confidently and clearly without being aggressive or passive. Another skill is active listening, a conscious and active approach to listening to others. A third approach is using I statements, expressing thoughts, feelings, and needs without placing blame on others. Lastly is choosing the most effective delivery method. This may seem obvious, but reflective thinking doesn't always happen when we are trying to communicate with other people. Once again, these are all stated in the Understanding Your Communication Style Handbook. To expand on getting your point across effectively, we will dive into specific points. First is being assertive. Being assertive is a way of thinking, behaving, and communicating that allows us to express our views and stand up for our own rights while respecting the rights of others. Being assertive enables us to confidently and appropriately express our thoughts, feelings, and needs and deal with difficult situations without being passive or aggressive. All people have human rights that give us dignity as individuals. By not allowing your rights to be violated, you are not being selfish, but are maintaining your self-respect and self-worth, as well as being aware of your own rights. If you respect other people's rights, you have the foundation for assertive communication. On the screen are various ways that you can practice being assertive. And on the next slide are skills that are essential for being assertive. If you feel like you need to improve your level of assertiveness, you can start with believing in yourself and know your own worth. Be confident, value yourself and your contribution. You can also learn to say no with confidence. Be clear and specific when expressing your point of view. Say what you mean. Ask for what you want. Respect the rights and opinions of other people and respect yourself. Use active listening skills to engage meaningfully with others. Seek clarification when you do not understand something. Ask for help when you make mistakes. Use I statements. Know that you can change your mind if you want to. Be calm and controlled and don't lose your temper. Describe how you see the current situation and how you would like it to be different. And express your feelings without judgment or justification. Some rules of assertion are on the screen. You have the right to respect yourself. You also can recognize your own needs as an individual. That is separate from what is expected of you in your particular role, such as son, daughter, mother, father, sister, brother. You have the right to make clear I statements about what you feel and what you think. For example, I feel very uncomfortable with your decision. You have the right to make mistakes, recognizing that it is normal to make mistakes. You have the right to change your mind. You have the right to ask for thinking it over. For example, when people ask you to do something, you have the right to say, I would like to think it over, and I will let you know my decision by the end of the week. You have the right to allow yourself to enjoy your success. That is being pleased with what you have done and sharing that with others. You have the right to ask for what you want, rather than hoping someone will notice what you want. You have the right to recognize that I'm not responsible for the behavior of other adults. And you have the right to respect other people and their right to be assertive and accept the same in return. I would like you to reflect about how much do you believe in each of these rules? And do you think you would be able to put them into practice? Now on to another skill of effective communication. The next skill is active listening. Listening is just as important in the communication process as talking. Active listening is a way of listening that intentionally focuses entirely on what the other person is saying, where the listener seeks to understand both the content of the message and the emotions and feelings underlying that message. The listener is not required to agree with the speaker. Instead, just try to understand what the speaker is saying. It's important that the listener suspends their own opinions and judgment to fully attend to the speaker. Active listening is particularly useful in situations where understanding is critical. In emotionally charged situations, for instance, or in situations where you're trying to resolve a conflict. Some of the skills for active listening are remove distractions and give the speaker your full attention. Give the other person the space they need to talk and avoid interrupting them. Be interested and engaged and show this in your body language. For example, through nodding, leaning forward, and maintaining eye contact. Though be aware, eye contact may be inappropriate in some cultures. Indicate whether you follow what the speaker is saying. For instance, you can paraphrase their words to demonstrate your understanding. And if you do understand, let them know. And if you don't understand, also let them know. Don't pretend you understand if you really don't. If appropriate, ask questions and want to know more. Also acknowledge how the speaker might be feeling. For example, you sound frustrated, you sound upset, you sound excited. Be aware of nonverbal cues and respond to them. And also allow for silences in the conversation. You don't need to fill all space with talk. On your screen is an example of hearing versus active listening. So Melissa and Wendy are two people in this conversation. Melissa is the person who is being supported, and Wendy is the staff person. So the first example is hearing, like I said. So it starts out with Melissa stating, "Hello, Wendy. I know we had planned to go out today to watch the concert, but I don't really want to now. Can we do something else?" Wendy, the staff person, responds, "But I have been rostered on to support you for the next 4 hours and arrange tickets and organize transport. We were home yesterday, so it would be good for you to get out today." Melissa says, "I don't want to go to that place. It's always cold." Wendy says, "Sorry, Melissa, this is what we planned, so we have to do it. You will like it when we get there. I know you will." Now, the second example is when Wendy is practicing some active listening skills. So it starts out the same. "Hello, Wendy. I know we had planned to go out today to watch the concert, but I don't really want to now. Can we do something else?" Wendy responds, "Sounds like you've changed your mind since yesterday when we talked about going to the concert. I thought you were looking forward to it." Melissa then responds, "I was then, but I don't want to go anymore." Wendy then responds to Melissa, "Yesterday you sounded excited about going, but today you sound different. Are you tired? Or is there something else you're worried about going?" Well, Melissa responds, "I'm a bit tired, and I don't know if I want to stay the whole time. And the theater is always cold, and I get hungry." Wendy then responds, "Well, let's think about what we could do so you can still go. Because I remember yesterday you were pretty excited. We could make a plan should you want to leave early or if you get hungry. And we need to take something to keep you warm. If we talked about those things and made a plan, would you like to still go?" So as you can see from this basic example, the difference between hearing and active listening really helps get to the root of the problem. Melissa didn't want to go for a variety of reasons to the concert, but in the first example, since Wendy didn't hear and listen to what Melissa was saying, she didn't understand why she didn't want to go and forced her into a situation she was uncomfortable with. Instead, when Wendy utilized her active listening skills, she realized that Melissa did still want to go, but there were a few barriers that she wasn't sure how to overcome. So utilizing these active listening skills really helped support Melissa. The next skill is using I statements, which can be good for communication. I statements begin with the word I and describe how a situation is for us, how we see it, or what we are feeling, without blaming or hurting the other person. Using I statements allows us to take responsibility for our own feelings and our own part of the situation. They allow us to clearly communicate the impact of another person's behaviors or actions on us and offer a solution. When we use I statements, the other person is more likely to hear what we are saying and respond constructively to our concerns rather than get angry or defensive. So here is the guide of using I statements. You can start with I feel, say whatever you feel. When, state the issue or problem. Because, say how you were affected by the issue or problem. And from now on, say what you want to happen. For example, I feel frustrated when you finish my sentences because I know what I want to say, and from now on, I would prefer you wait for me to finish. I statements can also be used effectively in constructive criticism. For example, saying, I had to read the information you gave me 3 times before I understood it, rather than This letter is worded in a really confusing way, or you need to learn how to write more clearly. Using I statements removes the element of blame while providing constructive feedback on the report. Choose one statement to try. For example, you can say, "You are always late to pick me up," "You really give difficult instructions," or "You don't seem to listen to what I say." How would you rephrase or reword these phrases using I statements? Lastly, I would like to discuss with you choosing the right communication style. With so many ways to send a message, for example, email, text, phone, letter, face-to-face, which method is best for us to use? Although face-to-face communication conveys the most information, the most effective and efficient method for a message depends on the situation. The criteria for choosing or written or oral communication is provided on the slide. You can see that you can use written communication when you can wait for the receiver to read it. You can't afford to bring people together. The message is complex. The information is more factual than sensitive. You won't be embarrassed for others to read the message. You need a written record of the communication. The receiver is able to read your language and use your technology. So when deciding whether to talk over the phone, meet with, or email or text a message to someone, you should consider time and cost limits, the complexity and sensitivity of the issue, the need for a record of communication, the need for feedback, and the capabilities of the audience. The more sensitive a message or situation, the more opportunity there should be for nonverbal communication. Face-to-face meetings reduce the likelihood of miscommunication. Meetings also allows the message sender to diffuse anger and dispel miscommunications, and give the receivers a chance to air their feelings and ask questions. Therefore, you want to use oral communication when the message is sensitive, you need immediate feedback, the receiver may have difficulty reading, you want to build a relationship, and you want to see the reaction. Despite practicing good communication techniques, there are times when you need to talk to someone about something, and you know it's going to be tough, challenging, or difficult. Those times when you know you should talk to someone, but don't, or you have talked with them before and it went badly, or you have a fear that raising a subject will end badly, or you are feeling upset or angry about something and want to let other people know about it. The following tips will help you to prepare for the conversation and also give you some ideas to use during the conversation. First, prepare for the conversation. Before going to the conversation, it's important to identify the intent. Think about both short-term goals, the specific requests you want to make, as well as long-term goals, the importance of the relationship involved. Second, what assumptions are you making about the other person's intentions? You may feel intimidated, disrespected, ignored, hurt, but be cautious about assuming what their intent was. Impact does not necessarily equal intent. Third, conversations become difficult when our feelings and emotions are involved. Emotions cloud our judgment and the ability to see the situation clearly. We often have previous experiences or stories that impact how we see a situation. The first step in a difficult conversation is to look within ourselves. Fourth, is your attitude toward the conversation influencing your perception of it? If you believe it may be uncomfortable and difficult, it probably will be. Try to approach with a positive attitude for maximum effectiveness. Fifth, what are your needs and fears? Are they common concerns? How have you contributed to the problem? And think about how they have contributed to the problem as well. Good communication styles and skills require a high level of self-awareness. Once you understand your own communication style, it is much easier to identify any shortcomings or areas on which you can improve. If you want to start communicating in an assertive manner, think about some of the techniques and tips that we talked about today. If you're serious about strengthening your relationships, reducing stress from conflicts, and decreasing unnecessary anxiety in your life, practice being more assertive. It will help you diffuse anger, reduce guilt, and build better relationships, both personally and professionally. Remember the first rule of effective communication. The success of the communication is the responsibility of the communicator. That's it for Lesson 1, Week 4. Please continue to work through the checklist for this week and go through the Lesson 1 assignments and readings and make your way to Lesson 2. Thank you and have a great day.